Hello everybody, welcome back to yet another grammar session from Linguacentric Grammar Cheats. Today we're going to try and look at tenses as a whole, all the tenses in English and just how they work and things that are standard and similar across all tenses. Just might make it easier for you to get a picture in your mind as to which tense you're using and why you've decided to use that tense and how you want to express yourself, and we'll give you a guideline on things to remember and things not to remember, and don't forget to do these certain aspects when you're speaking. Okay, so we know that we've got three different tenses in English. We've got the present, we've got the past, and we have the future. Present, past, and the future. We also know that within each tense we have various ways of expressing ourselves. Those ways are probably most seen as the present simple, the present continuous, the present perfect, and similarly we'll have the past simple and the past continuous and also the past perfect. Similarly we'll have the future simple, future continuous, and the future perfect. This can get a little bit confusing. As you can see, we've got 10 standard tenses that we're allowed to use. Okay, there is another set of tenses over here, but we'll get to that a little bit later. That's slightly more advanced. Okay, right. A couple of other things to remember. When looking at the continuous, we know that the continuous is related very strongly to the verb to be. And we also know that the perfect is also very strongly related to the verb to have. Okay. Right. So from here, we need a verb. We'll go with our usual verb, work. Right? It's a good verb to go with. So let's start filling in what you can expect in each tense. What is the standard that you know that you're talking in this tense because of the structure of how you're setting up your sentence, right? We know that the present simple for work is, we'll use myself as an example, I, okay? So, I work. Just recently, we've done a video on the difference between the present simple and the present continuous. If you have a closer look at that video, you'll find out more details about how we use these two tenses next to each other. But basically, over here, any conjugation of the verb to be, and that would be I am, for me. We know that we need to add in the ing. Okay, so take your base verb, add in the ing. Make it the gerund. Okay, so far we have present simple, I work, present continuous, I am working. The present perfect, on the other hand, is very related to the verb to have. We need to conjugate that verb and then put in our verb, much like we do over here. The conjugation for to have, for myself, would be I have. We know that on this tense over here is where we would normally find the challenges with our verbs, with the irregular verbs and the likes. What we have to remember is that in English, about 90% of the verbs, about 90%, is not an exact science, are regular verbs, which means that they end in ed once they've been modified to fit the tenses. So an example for work would be worked, okay? And that is where you use your participle. This is your participle column. This is where you use your participles. Over here, you use your past simples and your present simples. So this would basically be your base verb plus ed. Okay, so far so good. That's the present. People ask ourselves why we're using a past verb in a present context. It's because of the way that the present perfect is used in English. It borrows time from the past, but it's also a present idea at the same time. Bit confusing. This will be focused on in a separate lesson, in a separate video. Okay? For now, we're just going to focus on the overall tenses so you can have a picture on what to expect in each tense. Right, we know that irregular verbs end in ed once they've been modified. I guess that would be over here. The simple would be I. Yesterday I worked. Okay, you take your base verb and you add on ed. What we can also see here is now we have to conjugate the verb to be, we have to conjugate the verb to have into past tenses. One thing to learn, one of the most important verbs is the verb to be. the past version of I am would be I was. Okay? And then all we do is we copy the structure down. We copy the structure down and we continue. Okay? And likely. Okay? Over here, I have, the past simple for I have is I had. Okay? I had, and you follow the structure down. Your verb plus its past simple tense, its participle tense. One or two other things that don't change in the future is I will and I'm going to. Obviously these can change to you will, you are going to, these things, okay? So in the future we have two kinds of simples. They do have a different function and a different purpose depending on your intentions and your objectives of your English. If you're doing certificates, this really matters. If you're not doing certificates, it's not the most important thing on the planet. On a scale of 1 to 10, as long as you're speaking in the future, that helps in the simple. Okay? What we do here is we take our base verb and we put it over here in its bare infinitive. And over here I'm going to, well, this is part of it. You don't put another infinitive. You take your base verb and you put it over there. Okay. Now the future for the verb to be, I am, I was, I will be. Okay, I will be. Good. And then you take the same structure, you follow it down, base verb plus ing. Okay, so I am working, I was working, I will be working. All right, nearly there, nearly there. Now we look at the future. The future contains the word will. Okay, this is the number one word for the future. So I will conjugates for I have, I had, I will have. I will have. Take your base verb, move it down, keep it in the tense. You'll notice, guys, that whatever tense you have over here, however you set up this verb over here, it follows down and it follows down. However you set up the verb over here, it follows down and it follows down. Apart from these two boxes over here, guys, the past simple and the present perfect, we can see that the base form, the base form, the base form. Okay, pick up on those tricks, guys. This is what the sheet is supposed to do for you, is to show you what to expect in what tense. Ideally, the only other problem that can come into play now is when you look at your regular verbs versus your irregular verbs. We know that some verbs are fantastic, some irregular verbs are great, they treat us very nicely. For example, cut. So I cut, I have cut, I cut. Okay, but you find other ones like buy. Okay, I buy, I have bought, and I bought. Okay. But that doesn't change. Just because the verb in its base form, because it's irregular, does not change the fact that if you put bought over here, you put bought over here, and you put bought over here. It's your participle column, guys. This is your gerund column. This column should be your number one column to learn. It's the easiest one to learn. Learn the tenses, the verbing, the conjugation of the verb itself is very easy. ing. It doesn't matter if it's regular or irregular. Does not matter. The simples, on the other hand, the only complication over here, as we can see over here, this would be I have bought. But apart from that, 3/4 of the job is done. You have your base form. Okay, so I think once you get around the conjugations of the verb to be, the conjugations of the verb to have, and you understand that the table and how it works, I think you will be able to understand your English a little bit better, allowing you to express yourself correctly. Instead of saying I have bought and you really wanted to say I bought, well, you understand how it works. Okay, there will be a separate video, guys, on the relationship between the present perfect and the past simple, and also a separate video on the relationship of the present continuous and how we use it as a future event. Okay, so those lessons will be coming, guys. Those grammar events will be coming, those grammar cheats. But in the meantime, it looks very complicated, but once you get past all the verbs and understand there are set ways that you set up your tenses, you will notice that life gets a little bit easier quite quickly. Okay, don't forget, this page is for me. I work, I am working. If it were for you, you would say you work. You conjugated to be are working. Conjugated for you have worked. When you see a difference with have, would be the third person. He has worked, but the verb still works in the same way. You conjugate the top half of the box. Okay guys, it seems like a bit of a tsunami coming your way on grammar and tenses, but once you get your head around the sheets, it's a very structured, organized way to understand English on one sheet, and from there you can really build how you speak and express yourself in the correct manner. So I hope this has been useful, guys. Usual story, like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe by all means. Our subscriptions are going very well. Thank you very much for the support so far. We're aiming for higher targets. When we get there, we'll celebrate like we ought to. So in the meantime, guys, get your grammar right, enjoy it, take it easy.